It has been a minute, boys and girls. It has been a fat minute indeed, but nonetheless, welcome back to Setup Wars episode 361, the show where I feature amazing setups for my subscribers. If you guys want to participate for the next episode, make sure to watch the video link down below. But with that said, sit back and relax. Let's begin.
Hello there.
Jesus, what? Oh my God, why can't you just leave me alone? Get rid of that pesky watermark by activating Windows using a key from VIP or cdkey.com. Instead of paying full price for one, you can get a Windows 10 or a Windows 11 CD key for dirt cheap after using the code TS20. After purchasing the key, all you have to do is go into the user center up top, then navigate to your orders so you can reveal the key. Then simply copy and paste that into the activation settings of Windows and you're all set. Thank you. We are kicking off today's episode with a bedroom setup from Brian. He's a 19-year-old college basketball player who likes to game in his free time with his little brother. The entire build took him just 1 month to complete, and though it may look like he's got a decent amount of room to work with, he did keep the setup itself fairly modest. In fact, if you look at it from this angle, he basically fit the largest desk possible in this space without blocking the door. Since both his monitors and the PC are side by side, it creates this illusion of the desk actually being too small. The two 27-inch monitors are mounted side by side in landscape mode, but they're not only occupying horizontal space, but are also pulled forward quite a bit, taking up much of the depth as well. It could be that he's aiming for an optimal distance between his sitting position and the monitors, but ideally, you'd place them closer to the wall, giving yourself more space for gear and other items. Talking about gear, the only things on the desk are his RK67 keyboard, a Logitech G Pro X Superlight mouse, and the Fifine AM8 microphone that's connected to its mixer. He's got quite a few pairs of headphones, but the daily drivers appear to be the Sennheiser HD560Ss hanging off on the left side of the desk. On the right hand side, we find his MacBook and PC, which is an almost all-white build except for the motherboard. It's housing a Ryzen 7 5800X and an RTX 3080. I would recommend tidying up those fan and RGB cables though for a cleaner aesthetic. Currently they are a little too all over the place. Speaking of cables, I think he did a decent job underneath the desk, bundling them all into that little tray and running the monitor cables through the white sleeves to blend them in better. I would actually argue that from certain angles they stand out more, so I'd suggest attaching them to the monitor arms to reduce clutter and not let them hang like that. In terms of decor, if you look up, he's decked out the wall with Govee triangle panels and lamps, which adds a pink-blue glow to the room. And of course, you can't miss the custom basketball art and photos, which are a reminder of his passion for the sport. A solid setup overall, Brian. Thanks for sharing this with us. Next up, we have Mark, originally from the UK, but now is living in Taiwan, who manages an international school. His setup is a multi-purpose den, which he uses for pretty much everything. From the photos he submitted, we can see that there's no natural light coming into this room. And no, it's not because he has the shades closed. Even though there's a window, it's barely a meter away from the adjacent building, so sunlight can't actually sneak in. It makes me wonder if you can look into your neighbor's apartment when the shades are open. Like, are the windows positioned right in front of each other? Kind of reminds me of that scene from Tokyo Drift where Sean comes to his dad's house in Japan. Those of you who watched it will know what I mean. Anyway, Mark's desk is this very cool custom floating tabletop that he attached to a false wall. The false wall is what keeps the desk up. So from the front, there's actually no visible support whatsoever. Looks like he went with two stacked screens. We got a 32-inch Samsung Odyssey on the bottom for gaming and a 29-inch LG overhead for extra multitasking space. They're both attached to a monitor arm, but below them, you'll notice he added a slim monitor riser. Thanks to that, he can actually cover additional wiring and conveniently store some gear while keeping his speakers elevated. Very smart choice. The peripherals of choice include a GMMK2 keyboard with translucent translucent Tay Hao keycaps, and a Ponage Ultra custom mouse, which he spray painted in red and green with a Boba Fett decal. He's in fact a true Mandalorian fan, and you can probably tell that from the custom laser engraved wrist rest, the Boba Fett pictures on the wall, and even his Xbox controller. Besides the Edifier speakers we mentioned, the only other audio source are the Sennheiser HD 560Ss that he's got on the left, while the right side of the desk is reserved for the PC. It's running a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D and an RTX 2070 Ti. A slightly older card, but still quite capable for running the titles he likes to play. Cable management is definitely one of the highlights here. The desk's false wall hides most of the cables, making the underside exceptionally tidy. The only thing he added were a couple of cable clips and mounted the power strip to the tabletop. I mean, the whole room itself is super tidy. Because of that and the lack of natural light, the entire space has that studio-like vibe. Can't forget the TV setup where he can sit back and relax, all of his cool collectibles, Warhammer figurines, and of course that cap collection. Great execution, Mark. Thank you for coming on the show. Talk about geometry. Damn! We are now checking out another Mark's setup, this time from Canada. If you're a longtime viewer, you might recognize this one because it's actually his third time on the show, last being featured in episode 274 back in 2021. Back then, his whole room was mostly about One Piece, but now he switched it towards this Demon Slayer meets cyberpunk vibe. You can see that from the Demon Slayer displays and the little statues between them on the mini shelves, which replaced the IKEA fake plants that were there before. Visually speaking, not much has changed since the last time he was on the show. We have the same layout of gear and decor, but he added some slick lines on the desk and the wall that emphasize the geometric shapes, and even matched those colored arrows on the mouse pad. He also covered the monitor bezels with that same tricolor vinyl to keep it consistent. The result is this cohesive geometric aesthetic. Speaking of monitors, he has since then upgraded both of them to LG Ultra Gear displays, added a light bar, and repositioned them slightly. This not only fills some of the space on the left and adds a bit of depth, but also look at how he kept the edge of the vertical monitor exactly where the desk ends. I do love the attention to detail here. The rest of the gear on the desk is the same, but he did swap his old GK61 and Logitech G502 for a Ducky 1-2 Mini and a Pulsar X2 mouse. It looks like there have been quite a few additions to the pegboards as well. They're now filled with some extra keyboards and mice, that way Mark has enough choices whenever he's tired with one pair of peripherals. And to push the Demon Slayer vibe further, he hung up a katana that resembles one from the anime series. The PC just beneath it is mostly the same build as last time, however he did upgrade the GPU to a 3080. Considering his Coffee Lake CPU, there is most likely some bottlenecking happening here, so I would recommend making that leap into newer gen chips whenever you get the chance. It will help you get the most out of your new graphics card. That said, since Valorant is the main game he plays, it's probably fine for now. Now there are a couple of optional tweaks I do recommend as well, like for instance, flipping the GPU cable combs for a smoother run, or swapping some of your fans for reverse blade versions, that way you don't see the ugly stickers. But then again, it does look like he's using those fans to display those tiny Demon Slayer figurines, so I kinda see why you didn't do that. I don't think I need to say a single word about cable management. They are practically flawless, just like last time. You can see that both underneath the desk and behind the monitors, and this time he even shared a photo with the power strip inside the drawer. That is a genius solution for not having to go underneath the desk to power something on or off. One last major difference that I noticed are the visual upgrades around the rest of the room. Looks like he got some RGB and new displays right beside his bed. He also has a sneaker collection on display, and he removed the big drop-down projector screen for some reason. Right above his bed though are little notes that read messages of appreciation, which I assume were gifted to him from friends and family. That's actually a super wholesome thing to display. It was a pleasure having you back on the show, Mark. Thank you for participating. Shifting gears from neo synthwave to calming wooden tones, we've got Max, a 16-year-old from England who's been refining his setup for the past 3 years. It's honestly hard to believe that this space used to be more bright and colorful, but in 2022, he switched to these mellow wooden and earthly hues with a subtle car theme. Not only that, but if we zoom out, we'll see that this is not just a single desk. He actually uses the right side for his main battle station, while an entire work zone occupies the left, right in front of his window, complete with a 3D printer and a laptop and some tools. The main setup features two monitors, a 32-inch LG Ergo Ultrafine as the primary, and an unbranded 15-inch portable monitor tucked below it, which conveniently covers the default monitor stand from LG. For peripherals, he's rocking a Keychron K4 with GMK Olivia keycaps paired with a Logitech G305 mouse. The rest of the desk space is filled with IKEA fake plants, a little riser on the left that houses all of his secondary gear that he doesn't use actively, and everything's lit up in warm tones by that RGB strip he attached underneath the shelf. On top of that shelf is where his Edifier speakers are, though it does seem like only one of them was properly tilted towards him. As for the cables, they're neatly handled underneath the desk, all held up by some Velcro straps, and he was able to fit the power strip and the power bricks from the monitors between the tabletop and drawer unit. No complaints here. The PC powering it all is built inside the O11 Dynamic, and it features a Ryzen 7 3700X and a Gigabyte RTX 2080 Super. I think this is the first episode in a while where we've had quite a few Turing cards in the setups. The GPU crisis might as well bring the rise of the RTX 2000 series and AMD 6000 series cards. The softly lit, warm tones unify both sides of the setup beautifully, giving the space a relaxed, cohesive feel. The same theme continues throughout the room with more decor and car memorabilia on display. There might be a lot going on, but everything's arranged thoughtfully so it doesn't come off as cluttered or disorganized. As long as it's functional for you, that's what matters. Thank you, Max, for being on the show. If I showed you this setup, who would you guess owns it? A programmer? An engineer? If you guessed corporate tax lawyer, then you must be on some voodoo stuff, because never in my life would I have thought that. It actually belongs to Nick from Vancouver, Canada, who built it, and I quote, to have an extremely organized work from home space. At first glance, it just seems like a modern minimal desk, but the longer you look, the more technical it becomes. I mean, sure, it has some cool accessories like the custom book stand on the right, integrated LEDs around the trim, and a hanging PC underneath the desk. But let me tell you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole story behind the making and design philosophy of this desk. His goal was to make a workspace that was organizable, adaptable, and would last forever. Some of the key features include the syncing of lights to whatever is displayed on the monitors, a switch for the peripherals to connect from his work laptop to his PC, and a whole freaking modular cable management system. I mean, just look at that contraption underneath the desk. I mean, it's not looking like those super satisfying managed server cables, but can be taken apart very easily to switch out some wires and work on them in the future. There is a much more detailed explanation on his website, so I'll leave a link to it if you guys want to check it out if you're interested. There is nothing this man doesn't do. He's a lawyer, a hobbyist, photographer, and a 3D modeler, which explains the high quality photos and the render of his setup he provided. But he also does woodworking. Yeah, that's what helped him build this whole setup in the first place. If anything, Nick here is the definition of the guy your girlfriend tells you not to worry about. He does need all that screen real estate from the triple Samsung monitors, not only because he works from home a lot, but also so he could play some of his kids' favorite simulator games with them. This also explains why he has some beefy specs with a Ryzen 9 7900X and an RTX 3090. The desk surface was kept minimal with a pair of Logitech peripherals, Edifier speakers below the monitors, and the Blue Yeti microphone that he can easily bring closer to him from the side. I honestly can't get enough of his cable management and the PC mount solution. I mean, everything is attached to the desk, and there's only one single cable that goes to the power outlet. That means that if he ever needs to move the setup, all he has to do is unplug it from the wall, and that's it. Also, the PC isn't simply hanging, it moves around. He can push it towards the back, bring it forward, rotate it for easier access to the back of the motherboard. I mean, that is just genius. He mentioned in the submission that he has quite a few ideas for further improvements, but would love to hear you guys' thoughts and recommendations on what he could potentially improve on. This setup quite literally merges artistry with engineering. It's a near perfect marriage of function and design. The only thing that's lacking, unfortunately, is personality. He says it himself, noting that the setup has this clinical vibe, but he is planning on making improvements on it, and it takes inspiration from all you guys who take part in setup wars. We do have quite a few knowledgeable and friendly people on our Discord server, as well as a separate DIY channel where you can discuss your creative ideas. We'll be more than happy to welcome you on our server. So if you have the time and you want to discuss stuff on there, maybe just hang around with me in the community. I'll drop a link to our Discord server down below. You're already on track of making the ultimate work from home setup, so with just those few improvements, I'm confident you'll take home the seal. Either way, thanks for coming on the show. What a setup to wrap up today's episode. As always, let me know in the comment section which of these setups was your absolute favorite. If you guys are enjoying setup wars, feel free to toss a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.